The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal flower. Station Kepler 442 was home to dozens of alien species, all working together in the Galactic Coalition. Today was special. Today, they would meet humans for the first time. Ambassador Zekth clicked his mandibles nervously as he watched the human ship dock. The insectoid Vexhi had natural armor plating and deadly stingers, but he still felt worried. These humans were unknown. What could they do? What weapons did they carry? The docking bay filled with curious aliens. The crystalline Shardani floated nearby, their bodies glowing with inner light. The amphibious Mortok stood in small groups, their wet skin reflecting the station lights. Everyone wanted to see the new species. The airlock hissed open. 5 humans walked out, looking small and soft compared to the aliens around them. Their leader, a tall man in blue robes, raised his hand in greeting. "I am Ambassador Chen," the human said through his translator. "We come in peace from Earth." Zekth studied the humans carefully. They had no visible armor. Their skin looked thin and weak. Their small teeth could not bite through metal. But each human carried strange metal objects on their belts. "Welcome," Zekth replied. "I am Ambassador Zekth of the Vexhi. These objects you carry, what are they?" Ambassador Chen smiled. "These are weapons, tools for protection and hunting." The aliens murmured to each other. Weapons? These creatures needed tools to fight? How weak must they be? Behind the diplomats, a female human in green clothing stood quietly. She was shorter than the others, with dark hair tied back. Her uniform was different, covered in pockets and strange items. A large weapon hung from her shoulder. "This is Staff Sergeant Santos," Ambassador Chen said. "She provides security for our mission." Santos nodded politely but said nothing. Her dark eyes moved constantly, watching everything around her. The aliens noticed she touched her weapon often. Dr. Kelmar, a Shardani scientist, floated forward. His crystal body pulsed with curiosity. "Fascinating. Your species requires external tools for combat? We have studied many species, but most rely on natural abilities. Humans are different," Ambassador Chen explained. "We create tools to help us survive." The group moved through the station corridors. The aliens showed the humans their technology, their art, their culture. The humans seemed impressed by everything they saw. In the science lab, Dr. Kelmar demonstrated Shardani abilities. He focused his mind and lifted a heavy metal table without touching it. The energy field around his body glowed brighter. "We control gravity and electromagnetic forces," he explained proudly. "It is natural for us." A Mortok scientist named Glubash stepped forward. "Watch this," he said. He took a sharp blade and cut deeply into his arm. Green blood flowed for a moment, then stopped. The wound closed and healed completely in seconds. "Amazing," Ambassador Chen said. "Our bodies cannot do that." The aliens exchanged looks. These humans seemed even weaker than they thought. No energy powers, no healing abilities, just soft flesh and metal tools. Santos remained quiet during the demonstrations. She watched each alien ability carefully, her expression never changing. When Dr. Kelmar asked if she wanted to try lifting the table, she shook her head. "I cannot do what you do," she said simply. "Perhaps you could show us human weapons?" Zekth asked. "We are curious about your technology." Ambassador Chen looked uncomfortable. "Our weapons are quite powerful. We prefer not to demonstrate them in peaceful settings." This made the aliens even more curious. If humans were so weak naturally, their weapons must be incredible to help them survive. Dr. Kelmar's assistant, a young Shardani named Pixel, whispered to his mentor. "They must be very afraid. Look how the female never lets go of her weapon." It was true. Santos kept one hand near her rifle at all times. When she sat, She positioned herself to see all exits. When others talked, she watched the room. The aliens assumed this was fear. During the evening meal, the species shared stories of their home worlds. The Vexhai spoke of hunting in metal forests with their natural claws. The Mortok described underwater battles where they regenerated from terrible injuries. The Shardani told of floating through crystal caves, using mind powers to shape their environment. "What of Earth?" Glubash asked. "How do humans hunt and fight?" Ambassador Chen seemed to think carefully before answering. "Humans are persistent. We do not give up easily." "But without natural weapons or armor, how did your species survive?" Dr. Kellamar asked. "We learned to use tools," Ambassador Chen said. "And we learned to work together." Santos spoke for the first time during dinner. "We also learned to think." Her voice was calm and quiet, but something in her tone made the aliens pay attention. "Think about what?" Zekth asked. "About our enemies, about their strengths and weaknesses, about how to win." The meal continued, but the aliens found themselves watching Santos more carefully. There was something about the way she moved, the way she watched everything. It was not fear they saw in her eyes. It was calculation. As the humans returned to their ship for the night, the alien ambassadors met to discuss what they had learned. "They seem harmless," Glubash said. "Weak bodies, no natural weapons." "But their technology must be advanced," Dr. Kelmar noted. "They traveled between stars." Zekth clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "The female soldier troubles me. She acts like a predator, but she has no claws." "Perhaps that is why they need so many weapons," Pixel suggested. None of them realized how wrong they were. They would learn soon enough what humans could do without any weapons at all. The next day brought excitement to Station Kepler 442. The aliens had planned a special demonstration in the main gymnasium. They wanted to show the humans what each species could do in combat. The gymnasium was huge, with a high ceiling and walls made of strong metal. Training equipment filled the space. Weapons racks held blades and energy guns from different worlds. In the center sat a raised platform, surrounded by seats for observers. Santos followed Ambassador Chen and the other humans into the gym. She wore the same green uniform as yesterday, her rifle still hanging from her shoulder. The aliens whispered as they saw her weapon. "Today we share our combat traditions," Zekth announced to the gathered crowd. "Each species will demonstrate their natural fighting abilities." The Vexhai went first. A warrior named Thakzil stepped onto the platform. He was larger than Zekth, with thicker armor plating and longer claws. The aliens brought out a training dummy made of thick metal. Thakzil moved faster than human eyes could follow. His claws extended from his hands like swords. With a series of rapid strikes, he tore the metal dummy into pieces. Sparks flew as his natural weapons cut through steel like paper. The crowd cheered. Ambassador Chen looked impressed, but Santos showed no reaction. Next came a Shardani warrior named Veltar. She floated above the platform, her crystal body glowing bright blue. Another metal dummy was placed below her. Veltar raised her arms and focused. The air around the dummy began to shimmer. Suddenly, an invisible force crushed the metal target from all sides. The dummy collapsed into a small ball of twisted steel. "Gravity manipulation," Dr. Kelmar explained to the humans. "We can increase gravity by 100 times in a small area." Again, Ambassador Chen nodded with respect. Santos remained silent. The Mortok demonstration was different. A fighter named Brulok stood on the platform holding a sharp spear. Without warning, he drove the weapon completely through his own chest. The humans gasped, but Brulok just smiled. Green blood flowed for a moment, then stopped. He pulled out the spear and the wound closed immediately. Within seconds, there was no sign of injury. "We are very hard to kill," he said proudly. "Pain means nothing to us." Other species demonstrated their abilities. The Cathari showed their ability to become invisible. The Zordan breathed poison gas that melted metal. Each display was more impressive than the last. Finally, Zekth turned to the humans. "Now, we would like to see human combat abilities. Please, show us your weapons." Ambassador Chen looked uncomfortable again. "Our weapons are very powerful, perhaps too dangerous for a demonstration." The aliens murmured among themselves. The humans seemed afraid to show their technology. This confirmed what they suspected about human weakness. Dr. Kelmar floated forward. "Surely you have training weapons? Something safe for demonstration?" Santos spoke quietly to Ambassador Chen. The other humans looked surprised by whatever she said. Ambassador Chen frowned and shook his head. Santos said something else, her voice still calm but firm. "What is it?" Zekth asked. Ambassador Chen sighed. "Staff Sergeant Santos has requested permission to demonstrate human combat abilities without weapons." The gymnasium fell silent. Without weapons? How could that be possible? "I do not understand," Dr. Kelmar said. "How can you fight without tools?" Santos stepped forward for the first time. "May I use your training equipment?" Zekth looked at the other aliens. They seemed curious but doubtful. "Of course, but—" "Are you certain? We have seen that humans are not naturally armored like other species." "I am certain," Santos said simply. The aliens set up their holographic training system. It was designed to test combat skills using realistic simulations. The system could create enemies that felt solid but would not cause real harm. "What scenario would you like?" Veltar asked. "We can start with something simple." Santos looked at the control panel. "What do you use to test your best warriors?" The aliens exchanged glances. Thaxil clicked his mandibles. "We have a scenario called Hive Defense. It tests a warrior against multiple armed opponents in a complex environment." "That one," Santos said. "But that is very difficult," Dr. Kelmar protested. "Even our strongest fighters struggle with that program." "I understand." Santos began removing equipment from her uniform. Off came the rifle, the sidearm, the knife, the communication device. She placed everything in a neat pile beside the platform. The aliens watched in amazement. This human was going to face their most challenging combat scenario with nothing but her bare hands. "Are you certain about this, Sergeant?" Ambassador Chen asked quietly. "Yes, sir," Santos replied. It is time they understood. The holographic system activated. The platform transformed into a complex environment with multiple levels, obstacles, and hiding places. Armed enemies began materializing. Holographic versions of various alien species, all carrying weapons. Santos stood in the center, wearing only her basic uniform. She had no armor, no weapons, no special abilities. The watching aliens felt almost sorry for her. "Begin simulation," the computer announced. The first enemy attacked immediately, a holographic Vex-High warrior with razor claws. It charged at Santos with deadly speed. What happened next would change everything the aliens thought they knew about humans. Santos moved. She did not run away or call for help. She stepped toward the attacking warrior at the last second, moving just enough to avoid the claws. Her hand shot out and struck the hologram's neck joint, where Zekth had mentioned their armor was thinnest. The holographic warrior collapsed instantly. More enemies appeared, surrounding Santos. She did not panic or freeze. Instead, she began to move through them like a dancer, but a dancer who brought death with every step. The aliens watched in stunned silence as this weak human began dismantling their most difficult combat scenario using nothing but her bare hands and an understanding of alien anatomy that should have been impossible. Ambassador Chen smiled grimly as he watched his security chief work. "Now they will see," he murmured to himself. "Now they will understand what humans really are." The holographic enemies came at Santos from all directions. A Mortok fighter with a plasma rifle aimed at her head. A Shardani floated above, preparing to crush her with gravity. 2 more Vex-Hi circled behind her with energy blades. Santos did something the aliens did not expect. She ran toward the Mortok with the rifle. The hologram fired, but Santos was no longer where the shot was aimed. She had dropped low and rolled to the side. Before the Mortok could fire again, Santos was behind it. Her hands moved in a quick, precise motion. The watching aliens heard a sharp crack. The holographic Mortok fell to the ground, its neck twisted at an impossible angle. "How did she know that would work?" Glubash whispered. "Mortok neck joints are our weak point, but no human should know that." Santos picked up the fallen rifle and immediately turned it on the floating Shardani. But instead of shooting, she threw the weapon like a spear. It struck the crystal being in what looked like a random spot. Veltar gasped. "She hit the resonance point. That is the only place where physical impact can disrupt our energy control." The holographic Shardani crashed to the platform as its gravity manipulation failed. The 2 Vex-Hi attacked together, thinking they could overwhelm her with speed and numbers. Santos watched them come, her eyes tracking their movements. At the last second, she grabbed a piece of debris from the broken metal dummy. She ducked under the first warrior's claws and drove the metal shard upward into a gap in his armor. The hologram froze and dissolved. The second Vex-Hi tried to grab her from behind. Santos spun around and caught the warrior's arms. For a moment, they struggled. The Vex-Hi was stronger, but Santos did something unexpected. She did not try to match its strength. Instead, she used the alien's own force against it, throwing the warrior over her shoulder. The hologram hit the platform hard and did not get up. "Impossible," Thaxil muttered. "She is half my size. How can she throw a Vex-Hi warrior?" The simulation continued. More enemies appeared. A dozen armed fighters from different species. They surrounded Santos in a tight circle. The aliens expected the human to surrender or call for help. Instead, Santos smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. She grabbed a training weight from the gym equipment and hurled it at a light panel. The platform plunged into darkness. "She removed our advantage," Dr. Kelmar said in amazement. "Most of our species have enhanced vision. But in complete darkness..." Sounds came from the black platform. Grunts, crashes, the hum of energy weapons firing blindly. The aliens could hear fighting, but they could not see what was happening. When the emergency lights came on 30 seconds later, Santos stood alone on the platform. 12 holographic enemies lay motionless around her. "How?" Pixel whispered. "How can a human see in the dark?" "We cannot see in the dark," Ambassador Chen said quietly. "But we can hear very well, and we know how to move silently." The simulation reset. This time, it created an even harder scenario. Santos faced 20 enemies in a multi-level environment with obstacles and traps. She did not fight them all at once. Instead, she began to move through the environment like a hunter. She used every advantage the terrain offered. When a Cathari tried to become invisible, Santos threw sand at it. The alien became visible again, confused and exposed. When 3 Zordan cornered her on an upper level, Santos did not fight them. She broke a support beam and collapsed the entire section, trapping them under debris. She used their own weapons against them. She turned their strengths into weaknesses. She fought like something the aliens had never seen before. "She is using everything," Zekth said in wonder. "Every piece of equipment, every part of the environment. She turns it all into a weapon." But the most frightening thing was not her skill with improvised weapons. It was how she moved. Santos never seemed to get tired. The other species were faster, stronger, or tougher, but they tired quickly. Santos kept going. She moved constantly, never stopping, wearing down enemies who could have killed her in a direct fight. "Look at her breathing," Glubash observed. "She is not even breathing hard." It was true. After 20 minutes of constant fighting, Santos looked like she had just started. Her movements were still precise and controlled. The final wave of the simulation began. 30 holographic enemies appeared, the maximum the system could create. They had every advantage: numbers, weapons, natural abilities, knowledge of the terrain. Santos stood in the center, still wearing only her basic uniform, still carrying no weapons. The enemies attacked as a coordinated group. This time, Santos changed her strategy completely. She stopped being careful. She stopped being precise. She became something terrifying. Santos moved through the enemies like a storm of violence. There was no hesitation, no mercy, no holding back. She broke necks, shattered joints, and used every part of her body as a weapon. When a HFY warrior blocked her punch with its natural armor, Santos grabbed its head and smashed it against a wall repeatedly until the hologram dissolved. When a Mortok regenerated from a fatal wound, Santos kept attacking until the hologram could not heal fast enough to continue. She moved with such sudden, overwhelming violence that enemies began to retreat from her instead of attacking. "This is not possible," Veltar whispered. "She is just one being. How can she do this?" The simulation ended. Santos stood surrounded by 30 defeated enemies, not even breathing hard. The gymnasium was completely silent. Every alien stared at the small human who had just accomplished something their best warriors would struggle with. Santos walked to the edge of the platform and picked up her equipment. She strapped on her weapons with the same calm expression she had worn all along. "Thank you for the use of your training equipment," she said politely to Zeketh. The HFY ambassador could only stare. Everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "Now you have seen what humans can do without weapons," he said quietly. "Perhaps you understand why we prefer to use them." The aliens continued to stare at Santos as she calmly checked her rifle and put her knife back in its sheath. They were beginning to realize a terrible truth. Humans did not carry weapons because they were weak. They carried weapons because they were already dangerous enough without them. The aliens stood in shocked silence as Santos finished putting on her equipment. The demonstration was over, but its impact was just beginning. Dr. Kellamar was the first to speak. His crystal body pulsed with confused light patterns. "I do not understand. How did you know our weaknesses? How did you move like that?" Santos looked at him calmly. "I watched you yesterday. I listened to your explanations. I learned." "But that was only one day," Pixel protested. "It takes years to learn combat anatomy." "For you, maybe," Santos said simply. Zeketh clicked his mandibles nervously. "Show us what you observed. What did you learn about us?" Santos pointed at him. "HFY armor is strongest on the front and back. The joints at your neck, arms, and legs are weak points. Your claws are powerful but slow to retract. In close combat, you rely too much on them." She turned to Dr. Kelmar. "Shardani float using energy fields. Disrupting the field makes you fall. Your crystal bodies have resonance frequencies. Hit the right spot and your energy control fails." Globash stepped back as Santos looked at him. "Mortok regeneration takes time and energy. Continuous damage overwhelms the healing process. Your confidence in regeneration makes you take unnecessary risks." The aliens exchanged worried glances. Santos had learned in one day what took their military scholars years to understand. "But how?" Veltar demanded. "Your species has no special abilities. You cannot read minds or see through matter." Ambassador Chen answered for her. "Humans are very good at watching and learning. We study everything around us. We find patterns. We remember details." Dr. Kelmar's assistant activated a recording device. "May we study what just happened? We need to understand this." Of course, Ambassador Chen agreed. The aliens spent the next several hours replaying Santos's performance. They used slow-motion analysis and computer enhancement to study every movement. What they discovered disturbed them. "Look at this," Dr. Kelmar said. pointing to a holographic replay. She moves her eyes constantly. She watches everything at once. Her positioning, Thaxil observed. She never lets enemies surround her completely, always maintains escape routes. And here, Glubash added, she uses minimum force for maximum effect, no wasted motion, no unnecessary violence until the end. Pixel made a discovery that shocked everyone. Her heart rate barely changed during the entire fight. She was not afraid at all. The aliens began to research human biology. What they found made their fears grow. Humans have more muscle groups than any species we know, Dr. Kelmar reported. Their bone density is extremely high. Their reaction time is faster than most predators. Look at this, Veltar said, displaying a human skeleton. Their spine, their joints, everything is designed for complex movement. They can strike from any angle. Glubash studied human metabolism data. They process energy very efficiently. That is why she did not tire. Humans can maintain activity for hours without rest. But the most disturbing discovery came from analyzing human brain scans. The Pattern Recognition Center, Dr. Kelmar said quietly. It is enormous compared to other species. Humans see patterns we cannot even detect. What kind of patterns? Zekth asked. Movement patterns, behavioral patterns, combat patterns. Dr. Kelmar's light dimmed. They learn how to kill things by watching them move. The aliens began to understand something terrifying. Humans were not weak creatures who needed tools to survive. They were apex predators who had learned to make tools to become even more deadly. We have been thinking about this wrong, Zekth said slowly. We assumed their weapons were compensation for weakness. But they are not, Veltar realized. The weapons are enhancement for something already dangerous. That evening, the alien leadership met in private to discuss what they had learned. Every human is a potential threat, Thaxil said bluntly. If one female can do what we saw today, what could 1,000 humans do? 1,000,000? They came here with only 5 individuals, Glubash pointed out. 5 humans, and one of them defeated our best combat scenarios. Dr. Kellamar floated at the center of the group. I have been thinking about their behavior. They are always calm, always controlled. Even during combat, the human Santos never lost emotional control. What does that mean? Pixel asked. It means they are not fighting at their full potential, Dr. Kelmar said quietly. They are holding back. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You think they are hiding their true abilities? Zekth asked. I think they are hiding their true nature, Dr. Kelmar replied. Everything we saw today was controlled, measured, precise. What would happen if humans stopped holding back? Veltar checked the station's historical records. I found something interesting. This is not their first contact with other species. Humans have met 17 different alien races in the past 50 years. And, Thaxil prompted, all 17 races now have peaceful relations with humanity. No conflicts, no wars. Veltar paused. No one has ever seen humans fight a real war. Perhaps they are truly peaceful, Glubash suggested hopefully. Or perhaps, Dr. Kellamar said, no one has ever forced them to show what they can really do. The aliens began to see human technology in a new light. Every tool humans used was designed to multiply their natural abilities. Their computers enhanced their pattern recognition. Their weapons increased their lethality. Their vehicles extended their endurance. They are already the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, Zekth concluded, and they keep making themselves more dangerous. But they choose peace, Veltar pointed out. That must count for something. Dr. Kellamar's crystal body pulsed thoughtfully. Yes, they choose peace. The question is, why does the most dangerous species in the galaxy choose not to dominate others? None of them had an answer. But they all agreed on one thing. They needed to find out what humans were really capable of when they stopped being diplomatic, and they hoped they would never have to see it. 3 days later, the Galactic Coalition Council gathered for an emergency session. Representatives from 47 species filled the massive council chamber. At the center sat the 5 human delegates, looking small among the assembled aliens. Council Speaker Morthek, an ancient Zordan with scarred hide, called the session to order. We are here to discuss humanity's application for coalition membership. Recent events have raised new questions. Murmurs filled the chamber. Every species had heard about the demonstration. Some were curious, others were afraid. Ambassador Chen stood to address the council. Honored representatives, we come seeking peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit. Peace, interrupted Commander Vraktul, a massive Kethari warrior. You speak of peace, but your soldier destroyed our most difficult combat simulation. How do we know humans can be trusted? Santos sat quietly beside Ambassador Chen. She had said little during the past 3 days, but the aliens watched her constantly. Her calm presence made them nervous. Dr. Kelmar floated forward. We have studied human capabilities extensively. Our findings are concerning. Please share your research, Morthek rumbled. Dr. Kelmar activated a holographic display. Human biology is unlike anything in our database. They possess the most complex muscular system known. Their bone density exceeds that of species twice their size. Their brain structure shows advanced pattern recognition and tactical thinking abilities. The display showed comparison charts. Humans ranked near the top in almost every physical category despite their modest appearance. More troubling, Dr. Kelmar continued, is their behavioral profile. Humans are persistence predators. On their homeworld, they hunted by following prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. A Shardani representative pulsed with worried light. They are predators. Why did they not tell us this? Ambassador Chen looked uncomfortable. We did not want to alarm anyone. Humans have evolved beyond our predatory origins. Have you? Commander Vraktul demanded. Your soldier killed 30 holographic enemies without weapons. This does not look evolved to me. Santos spoke for the first time during the session. May I address the council? Morthek gestured for her to continue. Santos stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Every alien eye focused on her. She looked around the room calmly. You are afraid of what you saw, she said simply. You should be. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Ambassador Chen started to object, but Santos continued. Humans are dangerous. More dangerous than you imagine. What I showed you was basic training. Every human child learns these skills. We are all trained to fight, to hunt, to kill if necessary. The council erupted in alarmed voices. Morthek pounded his gavel for order. But, Santos continued when the noise died down, we choose not to. She pointed to the weapons at her side. I carry tools that could destroy this entire station. Every human does. Our ships carry weapons that could shatter planets. Our technology could wipe out entire species. The chamber fell deadly silent. So why do we not use them? Santos asked. Why do we come here asking to join you instead of demanding you submit to us? She walked slowly around the center of the chamber, looking at each delegation. Because we know what we are. We have seen what happens when dangerous species give in to violence. Our own history is filled with wars, with destruction, with death. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we learned control. Santos stopped in front of the human delegation. We carry weapons because we are dangerous. We practice diplomacy because we choose to be better than what we were made to be. Commander Vraktul stood. Pretty words. But how do we know you will not change your minds? How do we know you will not decide to conquer us? Santos looked directly at the Kethari warrior. Because conquest is easy, Any species can take what they want by force. The strong can always defeat the weak. She gestured to the assembled aliens. But building something together, creating peace between different species, making friends instead of enemies, that is hard. That requires wisdom, patience, and strength. What kind of strength? Dr. Kellamar asked. The strength to choose mercy when you could choose violence. The strength to help when you could harm. The strength to build when you could destroy. Santos returned to her seat. Humans have that strength. We choose to use it. The council debated for hours. Some species wanted to reject humanity entirely. Others argued for acceptance. The discussion grew heated. Finally, an unexpected voice spoke. Pixel, Dr. Kelmar's young assistant, requested permission to address the council. I am not a representative, the young Shardani said nervously, but I have been thinking about what we have seen. Morthek allowed him to continue. Every species here joined the Coalition for Protection, Pixel said. We were afraid of something stronger than us. But humans? They are stronger than all of us, and they still want to join. They do not need our protection. They want our friendship. The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations. Perhaps, Pixel continued, the question is not whether we can trust them. Perhaps the question is whether we deserve their trust. Elder Zephyra, the oldest member of the council, spoke in a creaky voice. In 300 years, I have seen many species join our coalition. All came seeking safety or advantage. None came offering protection to others. She looked at the human delegation. You offer to protect those weaker than you. Why? Santos answered simply. Because someone should. The final vote was close, but humanity was accepted into the Galactic Coalition. However, they were given a unique role. Humans will serve as peacekeepers, Morthek announced. When diplomacy fails and conflict arises, human representatives will intervene to restore peace. Ambassador Chen accepted the role gratefully. 6 months later, Santos found herself training a mixed group of alien soldiers on Station Kepler 442. Her students included Vex-High warriors, Shardani tacticians, and even Mortok regenerators. Today we practice restraint, Santos announced to her class. Anyone can learn to kill. We are here to learn when not to kill. Thaxil raised a clawed hand. But you told us humans are dangerous. Why teach us to hold back? Santos smiled, something her students had learned to find reassuring rather than threatening. Because the strongest warrior is not the one who can destroy everything. The strongest warrior is the one who can save everything. She gestured to the diverse group of aliens working together. Look around you. 6 months ago, your species barely trusted each other. Now you train together, learn together, protect each other. Because of human influence, Dr. Kellamar observed. He had joined the peacekeeping program as a tactical advisor. No, Santos corrected, because you chose to be better than what you were, just like we did. As the training session continued, Pixel floated beside Dr. Kellamar. I think I understand now, the young Shardani said. Humans are not just apex predators, they are apex protectors. Dr. Kellamar pulsed with warm light. Yes, they hunt those who would harm others. They prey upon those who prey upon the innocent. On the training platform, Santos demonstrated a restraint hold that could subdue an opponent without causing permanent harm. Her students practiced carefully, learning to control their strength just as she controlled hers. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The most dangerous species was not always the most violent. Sometimes the most dangerous species was the one that chose to use its power to protect rather than to conquer. And everyone slept better knowing that humanity was watching over them.